We were wrong about Megalodon, the truth hidden for millions of years. You've seen the reconstruction 100 times. The massive great white scaled up to nightmare proportions. Barrel chest, conical snout, 60 feet of muscle and teeth. That image has been in every documentary, every museum, every film for over a century. And it's wrong. Not partially wrong. Fundamentally wrong. The creature that actually ruled the Miocene oceans looked nothing like that. It was built for something we didn't think was possible at that size, and it was bigger than anyone imagined, nearly 10 meters bigger. But here's what should disturb you. We didn't discover this in some remote ocean trench. We discovered it in a museum basement in Brussels, where the truth had been sitting, catalogued, and ignored for decades, which raises a question you won't be able to shake. What else is sitting in storage right now, waiting to rewrite everything? 19 million years ago, something moved through the Pacific that shouldn't have existed. Not swimming. Gliding, a shape longer than a city bus, but thin, almost elegant, moving at barely 2 miles per hour, conserving energy with every stroke. Below it, a pod of early whales follows the coast, mothers with calves, slower than the rest. They don't see it, they don't hear it, but somewhere in the water column, the electrical signature of their heartbeats pulses outward, and something detects it. The shape adjusts course, not chasing, intercepting. It's been following this pod for 3 days. It will follow them for 3 more, if necessary, because the creature above them doesn't tire. It doesn't lose focus. And when the moment comes, it doesn't miss. That was Megalodon, not the ambush predator you've been told about. Something worse. A marathon hunter built for pursuit across entire oceans, patient enough to wait for the perfect strike and efficient enough to survive on one kill for months. But for 150 years, we had no idea. Because we made an assumption in 1835 that poisoned everything that came after. And that mistake started with something simple. A tooth. When you find a fossil tooth the size of your hand, you have to figure out what it came from. And for sharks, that's almost impossible. Sharks don't have bones. Their skeletons are made of cartilage, soft tissue that dissolves after death, leaving nothing but teeth behind. Megalodon left behind millions of them, scattered across every continent except Antarctica. Teeth up to 7 inches long, serrated on both edges, designed to slice through bone and blubber like paper. The largest teeth of any shark that ever lived. Hold one in your hand. It's heavier than you expect, dense, cold, edges still sharp enough to cut after 3 million years in the ground. This thing was designed to kill whales, not to bite them, to end them. Like all sharks, Megalodon replaced its teeth constantly, rows moving forward like a conveyor belt. When one broke or dulled, another pushed forward to take its place. 40,000 teeth in a single lifetime. Multiply that by millions of individuals across 19 million years, and you understand why we find them everywhere. Beach towns in South Carolina where divers pull them from river sediment. Cliffsides in Morocco where they erode from ancient seafloor. Riverbeds in Japan, deserts in Peru, quarries in Belgium. The planet is scattered with evidence of what this creature was. But evidence of its shape? Almost nothing. Boom. So scientists did the only logical thing. They compared those teeth to the closest living match. In 1835, a Swiss-American naturalist named Louis Agassiz examined Megalodon teeth for the first time and immediately saw the resemblance. Same serrations, same triangular shape, bigger. He made it official. Megalodon was Carcharodon megalodon, the great white's giant ancestor. And the scientific world accepted it without question. Museums built reconstructions, massive jaws displayed in entrance halls, stocky bodies mounted as if frozen mid-attack. Documentaries repeated it. Textbooks taught it as fact. For over 100 years, no one asked if it was actually true, except great white teeth and megalodon teeth look similar from a distance. The general shape is comparable. The serrations seem to follow a similar pattern, but under magnification, the structures are completely different. The serrations on great white teeth are irregular, brayangular, built for tearing. The serrations on megalodon teeth are finer, rounder, built for slicing. The roots attach to the jaw. The enamel layers vary in thickness. The wear patterns tell different stories. In the early 2000s, a researcher named Kevin Nyberg finally ran the comparison properly. Morphometric analysis across hundreds of specimens, looking not at general appearance, but at structural detail. And he found zero overlap. Not some overlap. Zero. These weren't ancestor and descendant. These were two entirely separate evolutionary lines that had been swimming apart for over 60 million years. Megalodon wasn't a great white at all. It belonged to an extinct family called Otodontidae, the megatooth sharks, a lineage that traced back to Otodus obliquus swimming the ocean 60 million years ago.
By 2019, the reclassification was official.
Megalodon was now Otodus megalodon, a creature from a completely different branch of the shark family tree, which meant every reconstruction ever made, every museum display, every film, every documentary been built on a false assumption. But that raised a bigger problem. If Megalodon wasn't a giant great white, then what did it actually look like?
For years, no one could answer that question.
Teeth tell you what an animal ate. They don't tell you body shape. You need bones for that. And sharks don't leave bones. Their cartilage skeletons dissolve, degrade, disappear, taking the truth with them. Occasionally, under exactly the right conditions, vertebrae can mineralize, absorbing minerals from the sediment, hardening into a form that survives millions of years. But these fossils are rare, incredibly rare. Most megalodon specimens consist of nothing but teeth, fragments of a creature we could never fully see. Until 2025, when a team of 28 researchers from 11 countries did something no one had tried before. They didn't look for new fossils. They re-examined old ones. In the basement of the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Sciences sat a specimen that had been catalogued decades ago, a Megalodon vertebral column. Not just a single vertebra, a sequence of them, 11 meters of preserved backbone. The trunk section, from behind the head to before the tail, the longest continuous Megalodon spine ever found. It had been measured, photographed, filed away, and largely forgotten. Until Dr. Kenshu Shimada's team pulled it back out. What they did next would destroy everything we thought we knew. Shimada's team didn't just measure the Belgian vertebrae. They built a database. 145 living shark species. 20 extinct ones. Every measurement they could extract. Buck, how heads relate to trunks, how trunks relate to tails, how fin placement correlates with vertebral count, proportions mapped across the entire shark family tree. Then they took the Belgian fossil, applied those proportions, and waited for the numbers. The results came back wrong. Not wrong as in error. Wrong as in impossible under the old model. A great white shark has a stocky body, thick through the middle, tapering sharply at both ends. That design is built for ambush. Short, explosive bursts of speed. The kind of attack that works brilliantly when you're hunting seals from below. But scale that body plan up to 60 feet, and the physics collapse. Water creates drag. And drag scales exponentially with cross-sectional area. The bigger your midsection, the more energy you burn with every stroke. A stocky Megalodon would have been fighting the ocean constantly, pushing against resistance that would exhaust it in hours, burning more calories than it could ever replace. Modern great whites cap out around 7 meters, precisely because of this constraint. Any larger with that body plan, and they'd lose the speed that makes them effective hunters. So what did the Belgian vertebrae actually show? Megalodon's trunk was long, stretched, spreading its mass along its length instead of concentrating it in the middle. When the team ran the proportions through their database, one living shark emerged as the closest match. Not the great white. Not the mako, not the whale shark. The lemon shark, a coastal species with a uniform, elongated body, smooth transitions from head to tail, no barrel chest, no concentrated bulk, just streamlined efficiency. Breathing bad scaled up to impossible dimensions. Picture it, not the barrel-chested predator from the movies, but something longer, leaner, almost serpentine. A flatter jaw, a shorter snout, extended pectoral fins, sweeping back like the wings of a glider. Built not for explosive ambush, but for something far more terrifying. Relentless efficiency. This is an animal that could cruise at 2 miles per hour for days without rest, crossing hundreds of miles while barely burning energy, following prey migrations across entire hemispheres, never losing track, never falling behind. Then, when the moment was perfect, a short, controlled burst to intercept, not a chase, an execution. This explains something that puzzled researchers for decades. Megalodon teeth have been found on every continent except Antarctica, in rock formations spanning millions of years and thousands of miles, from the coasts of Japan to the cliffs of South Carolina, from the Mediterranean to the deep Pacific. A stocky ambush predator couldn't cover those distances. A streamlined cruiser could. Megalodon wasn't just an apex predator, it was a global patrol, moving between hunting grounds across entire ocean basins, following whale migrations wherever they led. And it gets worse. The Belgian vertebrae suggested a total length around 16.4 meters for that individual, with a 1.8 meter head and a 3.6 meter tail. That was already massive, but close to previous estimates. Then the team examined another specimen, a single vertebra from Denmark, 23 centimeters wide, larger than anything in the Belgian column. When they applied the same proportional calculations, the number came back at 24.3 meters, nearly 80 feet, 94 tons. That's not just bigger than we thought, that's blue whale territory. An animal with jaws wide enough to swallow a car, teeth large enough to puncture through whale ribs with a single bite. Body designed to pursue that whale until it couldn't swim anymore.
And that might not even be the upper limit?
The Danish vertebra was the largest found so far. But the ocean is vast, and fossils are rare. Larger individuals may have existed, their bones simply never preserved. Now, put yourself inside this. You're an early whale, 18 feet long, swimming a migration route your species has followed for 10,000 generations. Water is warm here, safe, your pod moves together, calves protected in the center, adults on the flanks. You've done this journey every year of your life. Your mother made this journey. Her mother before her. The root is encoded in something deeper than memory. But this year, something is different. Something is following. You can't see it. It's too far back, half a mile, maybe more. A shape that barely moves its tail, conserving energy, matching your pace exactly. It's been there for 2 days. It was there when you woke this morning. It was there when you slept last night. It will be there tomorrow. You try to accelerate. Your muscles burn through stored fat you need for the journey, and the shape behind you matches the new pace without effort, like it was waiting for you to try. You can't outswim it. Acceleration burns energy you can't replace. And it has more reserves than you do. You can't hide from it. Megalodon's snout was lined with electroreceptors, ampullae of Lorenzini, organs that detect the electrical field generated by muscle contractions and heartbeats. It could sense your location from hundreds of meters away, in complete darkness, through murky water, regardless of where you hid. You can't outlast it. Its metabolism is optimized for exactly this. That streamlined body burns almost nothing at cruising speed, while your stocky frame fights the water with every stroke. So you keep swimming. And it keeps following day after day. The distance, neither growing nor shrinking, just constant. Until one morning, a calf falls behind, just slightly, just for a moment, tired from days of travel it wasn't built for. And somewhere behind you, the distance starts to close. Not fast. Just inevitably, you hear nothing. There's no splash, no warning, dusted absence where the calf used to be, and a cloud of blood expanding in the water. By the time you turn, it's already over. Megalodon's body held an adaptation that made this sustainable. Evidence suggests it was regionally endothermic, warm-blooded in key areas, its core, its muscles, its digestive system. Like modern great whites and makos, it could maintain body temperatures higher than the surrounding water. But this gave it faster reflexes than cold-blooded prey. The ability to hunt in cooler waters that other sharks couldn't tolerate. And something else. A warm gut processes food faster. And a longer body means a longer intestinal tract. More folds, more surface area for absorption, more calories extracted from every kill. One adult whale, could sustain a megalodon for months. Its liver stored fat reserves for the long stretches between hunts. Massive, oil-rich, capable of powering that body across entire oceans. Patient, tireless, inevitable. The fossil record shows exactly what happened when Megalodon finally struck. Whale bones from the Miocene bear bite marks clustered in specific areas. The chest cavity, the flippers, the vertebral column, not random attacks, strategic strikes. These were the weak points. The places where a single bite could shatter ribs, puncture lungs, sever spinal cords. Megalodon didn't kill by bleeding its prey out. It killed by disabling them instantly. One bite to the chest could collapse a whale's rib cage, puncturing both lungs simultaneously. The whale would drown in its own blood within minutes. One bite to the tail could sever the muscle connections to the flukes, leaving the whale unable to swim, sinking slowly into the dark. Megalodon's bite force is estimated at 40,000 pounds per square inch, 10 times stronger than a great white, 3 times stronger than a T-Rex, the most powerful bite of any animal that ever lived. With 276 teeth arranged in rows, each one up to 7 inches long, the jaw was designed not just to bite, but to hold. Once those teeth locked in, there was no escape. No thrashing would free you. No strength would pry the jaws open. The serrations cut deeper with every movement. Some whale fossils show healed bite marks, evidence they survived the first attack and escaped, carrying the scars of an encounter with something they were never built to survive. These were the lucky ones. The ones who got away. Most didn't. This wasn't scavenging. This wasn't opportunistic feeding. This was calculated predation on a scale the modern ocean has never seen. For 19 million years, nothing could stop this. Megalodon shaped the evolution of everything in the ocean, forcing whales to develop thicker bones, faster swimming speeds, new migration patterns that avoided the hunting grounds. Some species evolved to give birth in shallow waters where Megalodon couldn't follow, but others developed echolocation to detect approaching predators. The entire marine ecosystem bent around the existence of one animal. When Megalodon entered a region, everything else left. Scattered, whales altered course. Dolphins dove deep or fled to shore. Its presence alone was enough to clear entire stretches of ocean. For 19 million years, this was the order of things. Bud. And then it disappeared. But not the way you'd expect. D-I-M-D. Megalodon didn't die in some catastrophic event. There was no asteroid in Breathe, breathe, breathe. No volcanic winter, no sudden extinction. It was outcompeted by something smaller. Around 5 million years ago, Earth began cooling toward an ice age. Glaciers expanded at the poles. Sea levels started fluctuating, and the warm, shallow seas Megalodon depended on began to contract. Coastal nurseries, the protected waters where young megalodons grew safe from predators, started disappearing. But the real problem was the prey. Whales are adaptable. As temperatures dropped, they migrated toward cooler, nutrient-rich waters near the poles, following krill blooms and fish schools into regions where Megalodon couldn't follow. Running warm costs energy. In cold water, that cost multiplies. Every calorie spent maintaining body temperature was a calorie not spent hunting. Big. And suddenly, the hunter's greatest advantage became a trap. But the cold wasn't the real threat. Competition was. Early great white sharks were emerging, and they were everything Megalodon wasn't. Smaller, which meant lower energy requirements. Faster to mature, which meant faster reproduction. More efficient in cooler water, which meant they could follow prey anywhere. Where Megalodon was a specialist, optimized for warm seas and massive prey, the great white was a generalist, capable of hunting seals, fish, dolphins, whatever was available. When prey populations dropped, Megalodon starved. Great whites adapted. They could follow whales into regions Megalodon couldn't reach, hunt smaller prey that Megalodon couldn't bother with, and survive on less between kills. Zinc isotope analysis of fossilized teeth shows something critical. Megalodon and early great whites were eating the same food. The same whales, the same seals, the same marine mammals. Their diets overlapped almost completely. In a stable ecosystem, that might not have mattered, plenty of prey for everyone. But in a shrinking ecosystem, every kill the great white made was one less for Megalodon. And for an animal that burned 94 tons worth of metabolism, an animal that needed to eat constantly just to maintain body temperature, that math didn't work. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Not a battle, not a competition for territory, just a slow mathematical reality. Fewer calories in, same calories out. The equation couldn't balance. The nurseries collapsed next. Baby megalodons were born huge, nearly 4 meters at birth, already the size of adult great whites. Evidence suggests they practiced intrauterine cannibalism, embryos consuming unfertilized eggs inside the mother, sometimes even weaker siblings. So that only the strongest emerged. But even at that size, newborns needed protected waters to grow. Shallow coastal zones where larger predators couldn't reach them. As climates shifted and coastlines changed, those nurseries vanished. The broad, protected margins where generations of megalodon had been born simply ceased to exist. Fewer pups survived to adulthood. The breeding population began to thin, and by 3.6 million years ago, the largest shark that ever lived was gone. Starved out by a smaller, more adaptable predator in a world that no longer had room for giants. But the story doesn't end with extinction. Something remarkable happened after Megalodon disappeared. For 19 million years, whale evolution had been shaped by one overriding pressure: don't get eaten. Whales that survived were the ones that swam faster, dove deeper, grew more alert. Size was limited by predation. Grow too large, move too slowly, and Megalodon would find you. Then, around 3.6 million years ago, that pressure vanished, and whales exploded. Within a few million years of Megalodon's extinction, whale sizes doubled, then doubled again. Species that had maxed out at 30 feet began reaching 50, 60, 80 feet. The largest animal to ever exist on Earth emerged only after its predator was gone. At 100 feet and nearly 200 tons, the blue whale would have been impossible while Megalodon still swam. Too slow, too vulnerable, too much of a target. But with the hunter gone, there was nothing left to stop them. The ocean we know today, with its massive whales, its giant squid, its deep-diving sperm whales, is an ocean shaped by absence, shaped by the space Megalodon left behind. This is where most documentaries would end. The monster is dead. The mystery is solved. But here's what doesn't fit. In 1873, the HMS Challenger expedition dredged the seafloor near the Mariana Trench and pulled up Megalodon teeth that looked almost fresh. White, sharp, barely degraded. Early dating suggested they might be only 10,000 years old, young enough to overlap with human civilization. This sparked a theory that has never fully died.
What if Megalodon didn't go extinct?
What if it simply retreated? The Mariana Trench drops nearly 36,000 feet. We've mapped more of the moon's surface than the deep ocean. Surely something could hide down there? Big.
In 2013, a documentary explored this idea.
Showing what appeared to be evidence of living megalodons, blue whale carcasses with massive bite marks, footage of enormous fins breaking the surface, scientists explaining why survival was plausible. Millions watched it. Many believed it. There was just one problem. The whole thing was fake. Actors playing scientists, CGI footage presented as real, a disclaimer at the start that most viewers missed. Boo! The documentary was fiction, marketed as fact. And it worked, because people wanted to believe. But let's be clear, the Mariana Trench theory doesn't hold up. Those teeth the Challenger found weren't recent. They were simply preserved in manganese dioxide that dramatically slowed decomposition, making millions of years look like thousands. And the deep ocean isn't a refuge for Megalodon, it's a death sentence. Cold, food scarce, completely devoid of the warm-blooded prey it required. Deep sea can barely support fish longer than 8 inches, and there's nothing down there to sustain an 80-foot shark that needed to eat constantly just to stay alive. If Megalodon still existed, we'd see the evidence. Fresh teeth on beaches, still sharp, still serrated, whale carcasses bearing those distinctive bite patterns. Sonar returns from naval vessels that couldn't be explained. A predator that large couldn't hide from the fishing fleets, the submarines, the deep-sea cameras. We see none of that. Megalodon is gone. But here's what should keep you awake. We only confirmed its true shape this year. 2025. For 150 years, we built museums around a creature that never existed, made films celebrating a body plan that was physically impossible taught generations of students a version of Megalodon that was fundamentally wrong. And we only discovered the truth because someone thought to re-examine fossils that had been sitting in storage, ignored for decades. Think about that. The Belgian vertebrae weren't hidden. They weren't lost in some remote dig site waiting to be discovered. They were catalogued, photographed, available to any researcher who wanted to see them, sitting in climate-controlled storage in Brussels. And for decades, no one thought to ask what they actually meant. Everyone assumed the Great White Model was correct, so no one looked at the evidence that contradicted it. The answer was there the whole time. We just didn't want to see it. The same thing happened with Spinosaurus. For a century, we thought it was a land predator with a sail on its back, until someone re-examined the fossils and realized it was aquatic. It happened with Brontosaurus, a species that was extinct for over 100 years, until researchers realized it was actually valid after all. It happens constantly in paleontology. We build models based on incomplete evidence, and then we defend those models so aggressively that we stop looking for contradictions. The Belgian vertebrae were a contradiction, but because they didn't fit the model, they sat in storage while we kept teaching the wrong thing.
Which raises a question that has no comfortable answer.
What else is sitting in museum basements right now, misidentified, miscategorized, waiting? What other creatures have we reconstructed wrong? What assumptions are we building on that will collapse the moment someone looks closer? The ocean kept Megalodon's secret for 3 million years. It gave it up only because we finally asked the right question. But the ocean is vast and full of teeth we haven't found, full of bones we haven't examined, full of shapes we haven't imagined. Somewhere beneath the sea floor right now, vertebrae rest in darkness. Fossils we haven't measured, creatures we haven't named, mistakes we haven't corrected, waiting for someone to dig them up and realize we were wrong about this too. The next Megalodon could be sitting in a museum drawer right now, labeled as something else. Waiting. Megalodon is gone. Its reign ended 3.6 million years ago in cold water and empty stomachs. But the ocean that hid its true form for 150 years is still hiding things. And the deeper we look into evolution, the stranger things become. The more we encounter organisms that seem to break the rules of biology entirely, creatures whose body plans have no clear ancestor, whose adaptations appear too perfect, too sudden, too alien. If we could be this wrong about a shark that left millions of teeth behind, what are we missing about creatures that left almost nothing? And nowhere is this question more disturbing than with a group that has been here for 380 million years. Older than dinosaurs, older than trees, older than most life on land, unchanged, unexplained, and architecturally impossible. 8 legs, 8 eyes. Hydraulic movement systems that no other organism on Earth uses, and a protein in their silk that shouldn't exist on this planet. They're everywhere, in your walls, in your garden, in the corners of your room right now. And we have no idea where they actually came from. Whoa! Next time, why spiders are not from this Earth. The impossible biology